Abu Dhabi-based international holding company invests $2 billion in Adani Group companies, and Russia is now among the top Indian oil suppliers. You're watching the Daily Brief with Forbes. I'm Ramia Faraj. Abu Dhabi-based international holding company has acquired equity stakes in 3 Adani Group companies with a total investment of $2 billion. The deal aims to scale up the UAE Group's sustainability-focused businesses and bolster its balance sheets. IHC says it injected capital into Adani Green Energy, Adani Transmission, and Adani Enterprises through the preferential allotment route. The 3 Adani Group companies are listed on Indian bourses. GCC banks face low cyber risk due to significant investments in infrastructure, equipment, and software to reduce and prevent cyber attacks. That's according to S&P, who say in the case of a severe cyber attack, the top 19 banks in the region would incur an average loss of 7.5% of net income and 0.6% of equity, based on their financial position at the end of 2021. S&P says hackers have targeted banks in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, and Bahrain over the last decade and have at times been successful. The connection between public debt and economic growth in the Arab world was asymmetric in the short and long term. That's according to an Arab Monetary Fund study which examined the correlation between public debt and economic growth in 10 Arab countries. In the long run, it found that an increase in public debt means a fall in GDP, while a drop in public debt leads to a rise in GDP. Russia became the 4th largest oil supplier to India in April, with volumes set to rise further in the coming months. Low prices are spurring demand from the world's number 3 oil consumer and importer. Tanker tracking data shows Russia's share in India's oil purchases rose to a record 6% in April, which is about 277,000 barrels per day. That's up from about 66,000 barrels per day in March, when it was in 10th position. Credit Suisse Group credit rating has been downgraded to BBB from BBB plus by S&P, a blow for the Swiss bank, which reported a Q1 loss and is facing increasing shareholder unrest following a string of scandals. But S&P says the outlook has now been changed from negative to stable. Credit Suisse reported a first quarter loss last month and launched a management overhaul after racking up billions in losses during 2021 from failed investments. Britain's unemployment rate has fallen further to a 47-year low, but the value of wages continues to erode as inflation soars. The unemployment rate eased to 3.7% in the 3 months to the end of March, its lowest level in over 47 years. But officials say wages continue to sink in real terms as Britain, like other countries, faces runaway inflation. IATA is warning that China's zero COVID policy will hold back a full air travel recovery in the Asia-Pacific region, adding to calls for Beijing to ease its hardline stance. The aviation sector's recovery in Asia was already relatively slow, and IATA says Beijing's rapid lockdowns and mass testing make the picture bleaker. At an aviation conference, IATA said airlines are now seeing signs of recovery, but unfortunately, the Asia-Pacific region will lag this recovery as China continues to pursue zero COVID. Forrest Li, the billionaire founder of Sea Limited, was the richest person in Singapore, but he's lost his $22 billion fortune from a market crash that's wiped more than $1 trillion from the world's 500 richest people this year. The tech sell-off, the shutdown of its main e-commerce operation in India, and disappointing earnings have tanked the company's American depository receipts more than 80% from a peak in October. Li is now worth $4.7 billion. Not bad. I'm Ramia Faraj. This is the Daily Brief. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.